Do you remember the first time a shooter made you feel like you were inside an action movie? Today, we're taking a trip back in time to investigate the impact of Black, the FPS released by Criterion Games in 2006 that turned destruction and sound into a cinematic experience on the PlayStation 2.
The premise was simple, but the execution was groundbreaking. You play as a Special Forces agent on a high-risk mission, brought to life with hyper-realistic graphics, semi-destructible environments, and a sound design that felt straight out of a blockbuster.
Developed by the same studio behind Burnout, the game drew attention for its stunning visuals at the time. Everything exploded, cracked, and collapsed with weight. And it wasn't just about visuals. The gunshots and explosions were recorded with techniques that, according to EA, would put the player inside the war.
Originally released in February 2006 for PlayStation 2 and Xbox, Black later got a digital re-release on Xbox 360 and became backward compatible with Xbox One in 2017. But despite its popularity, Black was never officially released for PC.
Gameplay is strictly single-player with an 8-mission campaign. Each level is set in war-torn environments, focusing on intense combat. The protagonist, Jack Keller, fights through factories, ruins, and enemy hideouts, facing off against militias in brutal shootouts.
And despite its explosive style, the game had no multiplayer, which was a bold decision at the time. Criterion wanted to deliver a cinematic experience, almost like an interactive action movie.
The gameplay itself was known for being simple, yet refined. Aim assist, timed grenades, realistic weapon recoil, and AI that responded with decent consistency.
Black was also known for being short, a campaign that could be completed in under 6 hours. Still, it gained a strong following around the world and became a cult favorite among PS2 players.
In the next episode, we'll dive into the reviews, praise, and controversy Black sparked among critics, exploring its cinematic sound, visual destruction, and the limitations that divided opinion.
Stick with us. In the previous episode, we revisited the visual and conceptual impact of Black, the shooter that felt like an interactive blockbuster. Now let's explore how the game was received, both by critics and the gaming community at the time.
Released in February 2006, Black earned average review scores ranging from 77 to 82 on major aggregators like Metacritic and GameRankings. Critics praised the cinematic sound design, the powerful weapon feedback, and the impressive environmental destruction effects.
And when it comes to sound, this was a major breakthrough. Black was one of the first FPS games to use advanced audio recording techniques to create immersive gunfire. Each shot echoed differently depending on the environment, a revolutionary achievement for the PlayStation 2 and original Xbox hardware.
Destruction was another key highlight. Even though the game didn't have fully dynamic environments, the levels reacted to gunfire in ways that felt highly realistic. Metal plates bent, concrete pillars burst into particles, and enemies were thrown back with convincing physics.
But it wasn't all praise. Many reviews pointed out the game's short campaign, the lack of multiplayer, and a thin storyline as major downsides. To some, Black felt more like a glorified tech demo than a fully fleshed-out game.
Even so, most outlets agreed that Black delivered exactly what it set out to be: an immersive, intense, and visually spectacular experience free of distractions, which earned it a loyal fan base.
Magazines like Game Informer, Edge, and IGN all noted that Black could have been an even bigger milestone if it had expanded into additional gameplay modes. Meanwhile, official PlayStation magazine described it as a technical showcase that deserves to be experienced.
And the players? Fans embraced Black as one of the standout FPS titles of the PS2's later years. Many remember it as the first game where the guns actually felt real. To this day, forums still call for a remaster or remake, especially since there was never a true sequel.
In the next segment, we'll investigate exactly that. Why did Black never get a direct sequel? What were Criterion's original plans, And what really led to the cancellation of Black 2?
The story behind that decision is more complicated than it seems. Stick with us. If Black was so impactful, why was there never a direct sequel? That's one of the most frequent questions from fans, and the answer involves market decisions, creative conflicts, and the industry's own shift in direction.
For years, rumors circulated that Black 2 had entered pre-production at Criterion Games, and that was true. Electronic Arts themselves confirmed that a sequel was in development, but the project was shelved before it even reached the prototype stage.
Why? Criterion wanted to push things further, aiming for a deeper narrative and even more advanced destruction mechanics. But at the time, EA was shifting its focus to other franchises, especially Battlefield and Medal of Honor.
As a result, Black 2 was quietly canceled. The studio redirected its efforts to a different title, Bodycount, released in 2011 by Codemasters with some former Black team members on board.
But Bodycount failed to deliver the same impact. Despite featuring destruction elements inspired by Black, it was poorly received, criticized for its generic gameplay and unremarkable story.
For many, Bodycount was the last breath of that bold FPS DNA first introduced in 2006. Since then, Criterion has focused on other genres, like racing, Burnout, and support roles on titles such as Star Wars Battlefront 2 and Battlefield 5.
Even without an official sequel, Black became a cult classic. It still shows up on lists like Most Underrated FPS Games or Games That Deserve a Remake. On social media, there are even petitions asking for a re-release on modern platforms.
And the question remains, would Black still work today? In a market ruled by multiplayer, microtransactions, and live service narratives, could a focused, explosive FPS like this still find an audience?
Maybe the answer lies in its legacy. Black proved that sound design, visual impact, and smart destruction can be just as powerful as ultra-realistic graphics. It paved the way for games that creatively explored physics and immersion, influencing an entire generation of developers.
And with that, we wrap up our investigation into Black. If you've played it, tell us about your experience. And if this was your first time hearing about it, maybe it's time to give this explosive PS2 era classic a shot.
Thanks for sticking with us to the end. And don't forget, like, comment, and share with fellow gamers.
Stay tuned to MUNDO-XP for our next deep dive.
See you next time!